Hey guys, welcome to Vlogmas Day 4. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 of my favorite Christmas movies. I do have a lot of other favorite Christmas movies, but these are just the ones that I make it a point to watch them every single year. So I'm just going to jump right into it. The first one is Home Alone 1. So if you haven't watched Home Alone 1, I don't know many people that hasn't really, but I'm sure there's some people out there that hasn't even seen Home Alone. But for those of you who haven't seen it, which I'm assuming there is a couple people, Home Alone 1 is about a boy named Kevin McAllister, 8 years old, and his family are going to Florida. And, or was it the second one? Or are they going to Paris? I can't remember because there are two Christmas movies. There are two Home Alone movies. One movie they were going to Florida and one they were going to Paris. I think they were going to Paris. Yeah, I think they were going to Paris in the first movie. But anyway, long story short, Kevin gets left home alone accidentally while their parents are gone to the rest of his family, their parents, aunt and uncles, cousins, and siblings, all went to Paris. I think that's where they went in the first movie. I think the second movie was Florida. But yeah, he gets left home accidentally during Christmas while they're gone away on their trip. And while he's home alone, two burglars try to break into his house, and he tries to prevent that from happening. The second one on my list is Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. So that's pretty much, it's the same concept, really. Except Kevin is left home alone accidentally this time. He gets on a plane, yes. But let me get into that. Home Alone 2. This is where we're going to Florida. I think they were going to Florida in the second movie and then Paris in the first movie, I'm pretty sure. But yeah. In Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, Kevin and his parents, aunt and uncle, and cousins and siblings, and his whole family were going to Florida for Christmas. And in the first movie, they got into this whole fight, and his mom was like, you have to sleep upstairs because you're in trouble. And then Kevin says, I wish I never had a family and all this here stuff. And they slept in the next morning, and they were late getting to their flight, so they were rushing. That led to Kevin being left home alone accidentally. But this time, they did get in a fight in Home Alone 2. Like, Kevin said some things he shouldn't have said and got into a bit of trouble. But they did, I think they slept in late in the second movie as well. But, yeah, so they got up, went to their flight, and where they accidentally left him home alone in the first movie, his mom, checked and made sure when they got in the van before they even left the house, is Kevin here? So she was just like passing the plane tickets to all the kids in the van, because half the kids went in one van, half the kids went in the other. And when the mom got to Kevin's ticket, because he was the last one that she was giving them to, because all of the tickets had the kids' names on them, like Buzz and Kevin and all of that. So Kate, I think that's the mom's name, she looks at Kevin and she goes, where's Kevin? Kevin was in the front seat, and he turned back and he got his plane ticket. So when they got to the airport in the second movie, Kevin had his dad's bag with his wallet and all that stuff in it. And he was trying to get these batteries out of his bag, but it was having a little bit of trouble getting them. And they didn't have much time to waste, like waiting around for him to get them. They had to run to their flight because they were a little bit late. So if they just waited around, they could have missed their flight, right? So anyway, so Kevin was running with his family, and he was a little bit far behind, but he could still see his family and with it, like through his eyes, obviously. But he was running while trying to like look up and down through the bag, trying to find the batteries. And stuff happened while he was trying to find the batteries. He got a little, like, he stopped like halfway through, and he just stopped, got the batteries, and then looked up and said, "Wait for me, Dad." And when he said that, there was a guy at a table, like really close by, wearing this. He looked just like his dad. He was wearing the same brown coat, same color hair, everything. So he looked just like his dad. So Kevin mistook him and thought he was his dad, but he wasn't. So his family was going this way to the plane to get to Florida. The other guy that Kevin thought was his dad was going the other way to get to New York. So, yeah, so he bumped into the lady by the plane. And, like, the girl that was, like, taking in all the tickets saying you can go on in and all that stuff. And when she bumped into him, or when he bumped into her, that caused both of them to drop all the tickets that they had, like she had in her hand, and he lost his own ticket through that pile. So long story short, he was able to get into the plane and convinced the people that worked at the airport, you know, my family's on this flight. And so one of the men that worked at the airport, he took Kevin into the plane and was like, "Do you see your family?" He thought he saw his dad, but it wasn't, obviously. But he thought he saw his dad, and he went, "That's my dad over there." And so he sat by this French guy. I think it was French. And he was like, "Have you ever been to Florida?" Yeah, they were going to Florida. Paris was in the first movie. So he looked at the French guy, and Kevin says, "Have you ever been to Florida?" And he just started talking French. Kevin didn't know what he was saying because obviously he doesn't speak French. So he put like these headphone things in. So that's when he put the headphone things in, that's when the lady was like, "This is nonstop to New York." And he didn't get to hear that because the headphones weren't, obviously. So when he's in New York and he stays at a hotel for the first bit of the movie, he bumps into the same burglars that, turns out, escaped from prison. And so, yeah, that's what happened. He tried to get away from all the burglars. But yeah, that's that. I only have the first two Home Alone movies because there are more. There was like Home Alone 3, Home Sweet Home Alone, that kind of stuff. But I only have the first two because I feel like if you guys haven't seen the other Home Alone movies, you wouldn't know that the first two Home Alone movies have Macaulay Culkin in it, who plays Kevin McAllister. The other movies, they don't even have anybody named Kevin. I mean, there's a guy named Kevin in Home Alone 3, but different parents, different last name. Different actor, obviously. But, yeah, every movie after the second Home Alone movie is all different characters, different actors. So Home Alone 1 and 2 just hit different. Like the other Home Alone movies, they're not the same. So, yeah, Home Alone 1 and 2 are like my favorite Home Alone movies. So I watch them like every single year, and I could watch them like every day, all day, honestly. So, the next one on my list is Cookie Cutter Christmas. So that movie is it's a Hallmark movie, and it's about a girl she's a teacher named Christy Reynolds, and she has like this feud going on with another teacher whose classroom is literally right across from hers. And one of her kids, her and her dad, her kids in her class, her and her dad, anyway, her and her dad just moved to that town. And it was her first day at school, and she was in Miss Reynolds' class. And so stuff happens between the dad and Christy, because James, that's his name. His wife just died, all that stuff. And stuff happens between Christy and James. And Christy also ends up joining a bake-off between a few other teachers, including Penny, the teacher that she has a bit of a feud with when they started fighting, all because of a Christmas song at a Christmas concert when they were kids. So stuff happened. She ended up going to the finals of the bake-off, and Penny sabotages her and makes it look like she stole James's recipe, but she didn't. So that's about it. During the movie, at the beginning of the movie, when she first joins the bake-off contest, she can't bake. She really can't. But then she learns how to bake through James, because James is a baker and all that stuff. So that's that one. 2 more movies. The fourth one is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I love all of them, so I just wrote down one of them. Because again, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, this one on my list, I count that as like all of the Grinch movies. So basically, it's about a green guy who hates Christmas, and there's a little girl who, Cindy Lou is her name. She tries to get her to, or not her. She tries to get the Grinch to enjoy Christmas, and yeah, she really wants to be friends with Grinch, really. So she tries to get, she tries to become friends with Grinch, and yeah, and you find out why he really doesn't like Christmas towards the end of the movie. So, and the final one on my list is Elf. When I was a kid, Elf, I liked Elf, it just wasn't my favorite, and I didn't really watch that often. But now, like for the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years, now I can say easily Elf is one of my favorite Christmas movies ever. It's about life-size elf, like human, like, yeah, anyway. About Buddy the Elf, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it's about Buddy the Elf, and he's working at Santa's workshop, that kind of thing, and then he ends up going to the real world, I guess you could call it, and he sees his dad and brother, and yeah, stuff happens from there. And at first his dad is like totally against him, like he doesn't really like him that much. Well, I don't know if it's the fact that he doesn't really like him, but he just got on his nerves a lot. And so they got into this big fight. His dad was like, I don't want to see you anymore, get out of my life, that kind of thing, like you're not my son. And then he tries to run away, and stuff happens from there. So yeah, that's it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you like to see more content from me. And I will see you guys tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 5. Bye, guys.